person says, I think he needs to be on medication, that should be the last thing that is recommended.
It's the last resort
for children. But again, within our societal construct, do you see? And then when we begin to think about the larger picture of black young people being placed on drugs, by drugs being made available to them. Do you see? And there's some black thinkers and scholars who say, oh, instead of the people being active and conscious when there are no jobs or there are no decent housing, do you see, then you put them on drugs that will calm them down. So we need to, anytime that is recommended, it needs to be calmly questioned, seriously questioned, and assessed. Exactly what are you talking about? And if the same behavior, do you see, sometimes in some situations in the dominant culture, when children are assertive and inquisitive and moving around, that is looked at as a plus. Do you see? But
not dealing with
on the other side of the board, if there is activity and inquisitiveness, then that is perceived as a problem.
But that's a natural inclination for all children.
Well, in other words, right, you want children to be alert and to be thinking and experiencing their world, and adults helping them understand their world and understand behaviors that will be constructive to their goal objectives in the world. We don't have that world yet.
Well, oftentimes the things that adults put on children are often are hindrances in many ways. Child's mind is like a sponge. It's always absorbing knowledge and information. It wants to know. But sometimes...
Someone told me recently, this was a school in the District of Columbia, where a teacher had a name, sounded like a Polish name, or from Eastern Europe, and the teacher was in a black school, elementary school, and the teacher told the children to just call her by this short name because they would not have the ability to pronounce a name with, 10 letters. Now, that says something very significant. Instead of the teacher writing the name on the board and saying that this is the way to correctly pronounce my name. I'm sure that you boys and girls, do you see, have the intelligence if my name was twice as long to pronounce
She decided that they can't.
She decided. Do you see, now the implications are very grave, because if a child cannot learn how to pronounce a name with 4 syllables, then if you think that, then what is your expectation in terms of this child proceeding to understand trigonometry and calculus, advanced algebra? Do you see? Or the child saying, I think I want to be a space scientist. Well, if I'm thinking you cannot pronounce a 4-syllable name, then I will say, no, I don't think that you should strive for that. Had you thought about... I don't know what to say, but
janitor.
Well, do you see? I don't want to demean any work.
Yeah.
Do you see? But that is a very. I myself was told, oh no, well, I don't think you should think about being a physician. I think why not think about clerical work? This is in a college. Do you see? If I hadn't had a background of parents saying yes, you're going to be a doctor, or grandparents,
enforcing it,
or teachers in the black community say you can be whatever you decide that you want to be. But that is a part of our societal structure that still says in many high places that black people do not have the genetic capacity to do this, that, or the other. And we have to understand that that's a byproduct of racist thinking, conscious or subconscious.
That's their thinking, and it certainly does not have to be ours. In the last few minutes, I would like for you to, if you will, just give us some things, if you will, for the black nation that we ought to strive for.
Well, we were going to talk about rap just briefly, so I'll throw that in as we close, that there's a lot of negative discussion
about rap.
In the music itself.
The industry.
Okay, there's conscious political awareness, but there's some in which there's very negative, do you see, discussion about people. bright, intelligent young people who are creating this. But I say without conscious understanding of how the society may have made them feel about themselves, you see, so that there might be negative information about sex. Western culture has a lot of negative information about sex, and I translate that as having negative ideas about self. Do you see, let's say if white people want a suntan, that's a negative attitude about white skin. Do you see, so that the culture would then produce pornography or negative views about sex, which is the act of self-reproduction. Then black people have picked this up. There were not negative attitudes about sex in Africa, do you see? But young people, in some instances, in rap music, are saying negative things about the act of self-reproduction or sex. And this is something that we need to begin thinking about, or other negative language.
Because rap has a tremendous impact.
It has a tremendous impact. You see, that whole rhythm, putting language, thinking concepts in rhythm. Do you see, using both sides of the cerebral cortex is a very efficient way to learn. So many things could go in that are positive and constructive, and older people and younger people need to look for those positive messages.
Thank you very much, Dr. Welsing, for being with us here on Color Me Poetry. Certainly look forward to you coming back and sharing with us, and the book will continue to do well because we're going to go out and buy it. And certainly thank you so very much. This is Danny Queen's Color Me Poetry, and until next time, Color Me Poetry.